Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
This episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are recapping week 2 action of the NFL, going over who we picked, and some bragging rights. This is where we poke at each other, who is more correct for that week. And then we will do our preview for week 3, making our pick selections for those matchups. But first, Jeff, we have a little bit of league news that happened during the games.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't something that will be fantasy relevant for this year, but I think it's something that could be fantasy relevant next year because I don't think the Saints look anything like they do right now next year, especially if their skid continues to happen. But they did trade for the Patriots' second round pick last year, Jalen Polk. The guy could always get open. That was one thing that I noticed from the 2024 season, but he could not catch the ball. Always open, though. So if he could work on the drops, he could be a potentially valuable wide receiver. And while he's on the IR for the 2025 season, that's why it's not fantasy relevant this year. He'll get a new start with a new team in 2026. Alex, what do you think this means for the state of their wide receivers? Because they have traded for Vele, they have claimed Trey Palmer, and they have traded for Jalen Polk here all within the last month. So do you think that they're going to have a receiving core change out, or do you think this is just in addition to next year?
I think nobody in their skill positions is set in stone, and I think they're trying to work out who might be the best options for them long term. So I know we talked offline. You think Olave might be on the way out, which Olave should have a decent trade value for a team that might look to bolster a different position. Jalen Polk kind of lines up with an Olave type person. Vele is more of a dirty work guy, in my opinion. And then they've got a couple speedsters. I think Brendan Cooks is going to be gone because I think he is cooked himself. But I could still see them draft somebody, to be honest with you. So I really don't know what it's going to be for Jalen Polk, but he was a second round pick. He does get open, and anyone can eventually improve their catching. Just see Quentin Johnston Jr., third year in the league.
Hey, it does happen. He's not the same type of receiver as him, but I did know how wide open Polk was last year, and they just couldn't make him a thing. But
his earlier drops made Drake May avoid throwing to him, and he didn't even look his way half the time. So
yeah, absolutely. And the Patriots have completely revamped their receiving core. Like, obviously Douglas and BT are still there, but they brought in Williams, they brought in Diggs, they brought in Mac Hollins, who scored a touchdown this past week. So they definitely revamped their receiving core kind of quickly.
But only a substantial one for sure, other than what we'll cover in the matchups. But yeah, let's go ahead and hit the Commanders at the Packers. Jeff, we both picked Packers. Packers had another dominant display in this one, but we did have several injuries in this game. So we had Austin Eckler, who tore his Achilles, out for the season. We had the Packers lose Jaden Reed to a broken collarbone, misses roughly 6 to 8 weeks there. On top of that, it was reported after the game that Jaden Daniels sprained his knee and is likely out this next week. So we'll talk more about that one when we're prepping the Commanders' next matchup. But first, Jeff, what do the Commanders do now that Austin Eckler is out?
So I think that they only have one course of action here, and that is to give Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt more carries. Bill, as he's known by his friends, so he's just a Bill on Capitol Hill, coincidentally.
Yep.
I think that this is going to put a lot of pressure on Jaden Daniels to run the ball more. I mean, and I don't know if he'll be able to now with his knee injury that you just informed us of here. And it's going to put more pressure on the pass game. Actually, you know who could benefit from this entire thing because he does have running back experience, and that's Deebo Samuel. I think he could get some carries each game. He's already scored a rushing touchdown this year, so you laugh, but he could be dangerous back there, and he did score a receiving touchdown this game. So he's 2 for 2 in touchdown weeks here. We'll just hop over to Jaden Reed now because Eckler, I don't think there's any action that you can take right now unless there's like a Chris Rodriguez on the waiver wire, but he doesn't even fit 1-to-1 with that. He's more of a legitimate backup. I don't really like McNichols as well, so I think that it'll be Bill Krosky Merritt for the majority of the rest of the season. And Jaden Daniels is going to be leaned on pretty heavily there. And if we hop over to the Packers, Jaden Reed's broken collarbone, he got surgery on it today. And not only did he get surgery on his broken collarbone, he also got foot surgery to repair his Jones fracture from the preseason. So I don't know if that impacts any of this timetable that was initially set, but I'm assuming it doesn't, and they're anticipating him back for the back half of the season. And who do you think benefits from the Packers with Jaden Reed down and out?
Well, you would hope that Matthew Golden starts showing up. Their golden child starts showing up at some point, but we'll see if that progresses. But in the meantime, it looks like your favorite tight end ever, Tucker Kraft, exploded after the injury occurred. And I keep saying that Ertz is still useful. I think Ertz is going to get more involved with Austin Eckler out because he's more of
Absolutely.
the short yardage guy. So I agree with you that Debo is going to get used more, and I think Ertz is going to get used more. So I think that they'll make up the difference along with obviously Bill in the running back position.
They could be in the trade market as well. We won't speculate on trades just yet because it's still after 2 weeks, and I don't see a lot of teams wanting to make trades just yet. But as you did mention, Kraft and Ertz had great games here. They both scored a touchdown. I think that Tucker Kraft could be one of the best calls that I've ever had. Get a lot of stuff wrong, admittedly, but this one here gave me the Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst vibes where the Ravens took Hurst first, but Andrews ended up being the tight end that you wanted to own. And in this case, it was Musgrave first, and then Kraft is the tight end that you want to own so far. So be interesting. It'll be interesting, but I would
So
like to see
funny.
Golden take a leap forward here.
It's really funny, Jeff, because I was going to text you because Musgrave was the one getting the catches earlier between the two. I was going to text you, oh, watch out for Musgrave. But then Tucker Kraft was getting big plays. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't.
57-yarder was as long. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But hey, I have a lot of bad calls, and I think this was a good one. Someone had asked online what I thought Josh Jacobs would end up with for carries and yards, and I actually undercutted him quite a bit. Like I thought he would end up with like 13 or 15 carries for 61 yards. He did 23 carries, 4 yards, and a touchdown. The reason why I thought less carries was because it was a short week, and running backs do tend to field less carries in a short week. But early in the season, they said, no, Josh Jacobs, you are going to run this ball 23 times and catch it 0. Looks like Chris Brooks is their receiving back. Interesting thing to file away.
I have 2 more weeks until Marshawn Lloyd's back, so he's just holding it down for a couple weeks. But I just don't think that Washington's as good as they were last year. I know they added Debo, which is a better second option than they had last year. but their defense doesn't seem as good. And Jaden Daniels seems like he's going through a sophomore slump. And he's hitting the injury concerns that I had about him his rookie year. Never had any concerns about his talent. It was whether he could physically hold up in the NFL. And now that's starting to show up. But
yeah, that, and I don't think the team did enough to support him on offense as well either. He has two aging receivers, an aging tight end. He had an aging back in Eckler. They traded away Robinson. It doesn't feel like they did enough. It feels like a little bit of Penix situation that we'll get to in a bit.
yes, his skill position seems awfully old.
Yeah, and it's not exciting either. That's part of the problem. So I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if they're that hungry at this age.
also, statistically, Cliff Kingsbury's second year coaching the offense is always a big slump. So that's also a concern too, and it seems like we're starting to hit that.
Could be his last year. It was a little bit closer of a game. I think it was 27-18. And Daniels, but when it all said and done, threw for 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. So he definitely is performing from a fantasy standpoint right now still. So still a must start if he starts this upcoming week. Anything else on this matchup?
All right. Nope. Let's move on to an AFC East matchup.
All right. We got the Bills at the Jets, and the Bills won this matchup. Alex, you and I both picked the Bills in this matchup. Bills did win, as mentioned here. It was 30-10, was not even a close game. Josh Allen had an absolute terrible fantasy game also. We should notate that. But still 30 points with a bad Josh Allen day is a good day in the office here. Alex, I'm going to give you the first take here on Justin Fields because it does appear that he came back down to earth. 27 passing yards, 49 rushing yards, 76 total yards over 3 quarters for Justin Fields. What are your thoughts here on Mr. Fields these days?
Well, I think Fields holds on to the ball too long, and Sean McDermott schemed up more of a pass rush and a blitz that made him panic and either make bad decisions or get caught holding the ball. So that's a good way to disguise your weak secondary is if you can get to the quarterback pretty fast, be aggressive, blitz. That's a way to compensate. So that's really showcases McDermott's defensive mind here. And even with Josh Allen not having a statistically good day, you're never out with Josh Allen, and James Cook blew up this week. So
I know we talked about a potential regression, but now he's got 3 touchdowns in 2 games, including 2 in this one. He did 21 carries, which is a high amount for James Cook, which I expect less this upcoming Thursday for 132 yards. Do you think 19 touchdowns is obtainable again this year? He's on pace.
I mean, he obviously was one of the few players that held out that actually kept himself in shape because there's no other explanation for that. And I think we're starting to see Ray Davis not be as good as some people initially thought last year he was going to be. So they have to use James Cook.
Yeah, it's not really going to matter with this extension, though, because the whole premise of Ray Davis was Cook was going to be gone.
Yeah, but even in relief, Ray Davis doesn't look impressive at all anyway. So I could see why they gave James Cook the bag. But at this rate, I can absolutely see James Cook get a whole bunch of touchdowns. And now that he has the bag, they have no reason not to give him the ball as much as they can. So anyone who held strong on James Cook is looking really good right now.
This guy right here. I tried to sell him, but no one wanted him, and now it's kind of looking a little foolish. But
well, I traded him for CeeDee Lamb a year ago, and I hate it.
I would be surprised. I would be happy with that still. Those top 5 receivers are hard to get. Hard to get.
Well, CeeDee Lamb's not giving me 19 touchdowns this year, that's for sure.
Absolutely. The last note in this matchup is the pass catchers had a completely forgettable day across the board. No one passed 50 yards in this matchup, so woof, woof, and woof. All right.
I really think the Bills need to go back to getting a new wide receiver. I know Josh Allen does okay without a wide receiver, but I really think having a legitimate number one would vastly benefit the Bills' offense.
Yeah, and I don't know what that looks like at this exact point, but he did go 14 for 25, and he did potentially break his nose in this matchup. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, that was weird because I saw his helmet hit the guy's knee, but I didn't see anything actually hit his
There was a hand that went in there. If you freeze
hand.
frame
So
it.
a hand did it?
Yep.
Okay.
So it was like a crane right to the nose. And the guy
Yeah,
knew
I was wondering.
immediately his nose was going to gush.
Yeah, I was surprised by that because I couldn't see the hand, but
Immediately knew. He ripped off. There was blood on his uniform, but came back in the game, and he's going to play this week probably with a visor. So interesting stuff there. All right, Alex, the Bears at the Lions. We both picked the Lions. The Lions won. This is going to be a big theme this week. There's lots of wins here across the board, which is not common for week 2, because week 2 is usually we overreact to week 1, and there's a lot of course correcting, but that doesn't feel like to be the case this year. The Lions run up the score here in this one on their former OC. Goff has what probably will be his game of the year with 5 touchdowns. St. Brown caught 3 of those. Your boy Tesla with a great catch. I feel like that's can be displayed on repeat every week now, but he cannot escape 1 target per week. So he gets to eat 1 target a week. On the
he's
flip,
the anti-Quentin Johnston.
he is, and it's funny enough that we have a bet on that. That bet might almost be already over, but
Okay, count your chickens.
it's a long season. I'll give you that. But on the flip side here with the Bears, it does seem like Odunze is emerging as the number 1 target in Chicago, which is and isn't surprising. It is surprising because Burden is Ben Johnson's guy, drafted by him, probably should be using him a little bit more. DJ Moore is neither Ben Johnson or Caleb Williams' guy, and Odunze was actually drafted with Caleb Williams, so it makes sense that they would have a decent chemistry right there. But speaking of Johnson and Williams, do you believe that this marriage works in Chicago, or do you believe one will have to be out of Chicago in order to have a successful career?
Let's run through the list here. So let's go back to Lions running up the score in their former OC. Do you think it was a message, or do you think it's the Lions being the Lions and just making a statement after embarrassing week 1?
They love to run up the score, and I'm really concerned about the Bears right now and the product that they're putting on the field. Fans after the Bills win in the preseason believed that it was Super Bowl this year, so this has to be a major letdown because they blew a 4th quarter lead to Minnesota and now got blown out by Detroit. So 2 division losses to begin the year, which, Alex, I'll check in with you, but I don't believe that's very good start to the season.
No, it's definitely not. But I think the Lions needed a victory and a moral victory to turn things around. And this is something I've said they're going to start off slow and then figure it out. And I think they've showed that they're capable of still playing well, but I just think that highlights how good the Packers defense is now that they have Parsons. So week 1 and week 2 for Green Bay, their defenses look great. So Lions are still a playoff team, but I think Packers win the division. And now we have to find out, can the Bears bounce back? Can they compete with maybe Minnesota for a wild card spot? I don't know that they can yet. I don't think they've proven they can yet. But to circle back to your other points, I think Odunze looks like the receiver prospect I thought he was. Now, rookie year was very suspect, but now he looks phenomenal. And I think Ben Johnson is smart enough that if he has someone playing well in practice, playing well in games, he's not just going to turn things over to Burden just because he's the one that had Burden drafted. He's going to target the best players on his team. Now, I think Burden will be an eventual guy who pushes out DJ Moore because I don't think Ben Johnson likes DJ Moore at all. And I think DJ Moore is going to be gone.
Possibly. And I think DJ Moore was battling his way back from an injury the previous game still, so we'll see. I did have more hopes for him this year, so.
Yeah. I just think he rubs Ben Johnson the wrong way, and he just does stuff that's very selfish and quits on the team or doesn't give full effort or does something knuckleheadish, and I think they'll look to move on from him. They need to find another running back because I don't think Monogai or at this point Roshan are it. I don't think Swift should be getting the heavy usage he is actually running the ball. I think he's more of a pass down guy and a change of pace back when it comes to rushing. So I'm concerned about that. As far as Caleb Williams and your comment about Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, I don't know yet that it won't work. There's a chance that they can figure it out. But you know how I feel about Caleb Williams as a prospect, and I thought he was vastly overhyped, very immature, undisciplined. Ben Johnson is someone who seems a little wound tight with his personality, so they would naturally clash with each other. So maybe they can work that out, but I expect them to try to make Caleb look as good as they can and then ship him somewhere else and get as big a haul as they can get.
Yeah, I mean that could happen pretty soon, so we'll see. We will see. All right. Anything else on this matchup before we hop to the next?
Let's move on to another divisional matchup, and that is the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. And Cleveland surprisingly made it a relatively close game for a bit before Baltimore ended up destroying them on the scoreboard.
Yes, they did. Some interesting tidbits on this game here. Derrick Henry didn't have a very good game. Didn't have a very Derrick Henry game. But this could have been by design from the Ravens. They didn't really need him. Nuke Hopkins caught his second touchdown of the year. He could have been his third. I think he got stopped at the 1 on another play. And Lamar decides to show off throwing this game where he throws for 4 passing touchdowns. The interesting thing here was, other than Hopkins, Wallace and Walker caught touchdowns. Walker caught 2 touchdowns. Those are guys that aren't typically associated with the fantasy community right now. So Zay Flowers and Bateman held scoreless in this particular matchup. Here we go with some coach speak. The Browns, before the game, had activated Judkins, and they said that he was going to play maybe 15 snaps in this game. Well, he ended up with 10 carries. Don't know exactly how many snaps he played, and he ended up with 3 catches. So he ended up with 13 touches in his first NFL game, and he essentially came off of the street onto the team into games and was in game shape, apparently. So, I mean, that's a positive for them. Isaiah Bond caught another pass off of 3 targets, so they do look like they are at least trying to incorporate him weekly. Not a big part of the game just yet, but yeah, I do like some of the Browns pieces. I like Sampson, I like Judkins, I like Bond, I like Tillman. I mean, I like Fannin. I mean, I like what they're doing. I just don't think they have the quarterback position figured out. And the Browns did switch to Gabriel in this game, which does signal at some point that the Browns could be ready to switch to one of the rookies pretty soon here. And I do believe both rookies get some starts this year.
I definitely don't believe in Gabriel for sure, but he did get Dylan Sampson a touchdown, which mildly helped me in a league this week. So that's nice. But I don't know if you know this, but already Judkins was named the starting running back for next week already. So they liked what they saw against a tough Ravens team enough to already make him the starting running back. And I think that will make Judkins and Sampson the 1 and 2, and Ford might get relegated.
Yeah, I think Ford could be shopped, especially if you look at like the Commanders, who may need a running back. So
that actually might be a good match for those two.
Browns could use as many assets as they could possibly get at this juncture.
Maybe they can trade for Jaden Daniels.
Maybe. Maybe. Oh, great. Let me take a look here. Anything else on this matchup? I don't have anything. Not a particularly close one. All right. Let's hop over to a little bit of a closer one, and it is the Jaguars at the Bengals. And the Bengals did win, Alex, and we both picked them. So that's another dub on our record sheet here. But the big news coming out of this game was Joe Burrow will miss most of, if not all of, the rest of the regular season with a grade 3 turf toe, which he is having surgery on. Do you believe their season is in jeopardy? And who does this hurt for fantasy purposes?
I absolutely think their season's in jeopardy. They're already dealing with a mediocre defense and probably the worst offensive line in the league to begin with. They played so poorly that Joe Burrow felt like he had to make big plays and extend a play to get down the field, and he ended up getting hurt after getting beaten to a pulp earlier in the game. So now he's out for a year. I don't know what the deal with him, whether he doesn't drink milk or whether he doesn't have protein or
Wheaties.
vegetables or whatever it is. Like he probably just eats junk food and smokes cigars is my guess at this point, because I don't know how someone could be so prone to injury like Burrow has been. When healthy, I think he's the best quarterback in the league,
When
at least
healthy.
at throwing. I mean, if you combined other skills, there's other quarterbacks that are more balanced or have higher upside for fantasy purposes, but throwing the ball, there's no one better than Joe Burrow, in my opinion. They already had a tough battle with the Ravens being in their division and the AFC being very competitive and top heavy of being able to make the playoffs. And now it's almost impossible, especially with the backup throwing 3 interceptions in this matchup. But you know who's not making the playoffs this year? For sure. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who lost this game despite the Bengals having 3 interceptions. I don't know how the Jaguars could lose this game. I don't know how the Jaguars didn't torch the Bengals secondary with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, who Travis Hunter played one more snap on defense than he did on offense, Jeff. I don't know if you noticed that this week.
Oh, I noticed it. Do you believe that they're done messing around with that, or do you think this is going to be a work in progress still?
I don't know. Right now, he profiles as their leading slot receiver and only plays on 3 wide receiver sets. And also, I think he moves around at corner. Like he should be a nickel corner, but they play him at nickel and on one of the sides. I thought he played better, honestly, as a corner than he did as a wide receiver in this matchup. So I thought he got called for a penalty in this game, and I think that was a ticky tack penalty. Like I thought he actually did pretty solid, but he didn't turn his head and made contact before the ball got there. So it's a technical penalty. But I thought he was playing pretty good.
Yeah, I
So
saw that play as well, and
I
I don't believe that was a penalty either. Not something that I would like called.
yeah, it wasn't a blatant penalty. It's not like he made aggressive contact with the player and really prevented him from catching the ball, but he did technically touch him before the ball got there and didn't turn to look at the ball. So, can see it both ways. I wouldn't have called that one personally either, but I'm not against Travis Hunter. I just think I dislike it when some players get overhyped for the season, just like you don't like it when running backs like Genty, like Ashton Genty, get overhyped for the season. I don't like it when players like Travis Hunter get overhyped either. So
So
we
we
just
bring him right back down to
I think
earth.
I think the long-term talent is there. I think people had too high expectations early on.
I mean, that's fair. That is fair.
But I'm starting to wonder if Liam Cohen is just a better run game guy than pass game guy as far as the head coach.
Am I-
Because Travis Etienne looks revitalized these first 2 weeks, doesn't he? He looks like a legitimate running back under Liam Cohen. But on the other hand, Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter are doing very little
Yeah,
as
supposedly
receivers.
Brian Thomas Jr. has a wrist injury that none of us knew about. So, kind of
Oh,
interesting.
that's fun.
No, those are always my favorite type of injuries, being facetious a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's going on with Brian Thomas Jr. With his injury, I don't know if I necessarily would do this, but he is a buy low candidate as of right now. There might be a team that's out there that's frustrated with Brian Thomas, and you might want to throw an offer out for him. Maybe get him pennies on
I'm
the
not
dollar.
selling him.
I'm not either, not Dynasty at least.
I'm not selling him.
Redraft's another beast, though.
What about the Bengals' outlook without Joe Burrow? What about the skill position players? Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins.
I think Higgins takes the biggest hit because I think Chase is going to still eat. I think they're going to feed him. I think he might get like 20 targets and only like 10 catches, which is not uber efficient, but it's the only way to keep the team happy, I feel like. Interesting thoughts to move forward with that team. That team is pretty much toast in my book, and we'll see if they can prove me wrong. Anything else there, Alex? I think the big thing is the Joe Burrow news. Pretty much rest of the season, not even worth holding on to unless you have an IR spot, in my opinion. All right. And I mean, I need to add to that real quick. Like, we've seen how slow Joe Burrow has started in the regular season when he misses the preseason. This is no different here than the 3-month layoff. So be prepared for slow Joe to come back towards the end of the season and maybe even kill your playoff hopes.
Be prepared for Sleepy Joe.
Right? Right. Let's go here with the Rams at the Titans in our next matchup here. We both picked the Rams. The Rams did win against the very young Titans team, and the Titans fall. But as I said, they're very young. They did improve from week one. I think that's what you really can ask for with the very young franchise is just some week-to-week improvements right now. Still don't love their head coach after their gaff last week. Like, Io Manor, is he in the wide receiver 2 combo or conversation just yet?
I don't think yet, but I like him. And dynasty purposes, I think he's someone that you should look to acquire because I think he could end up being the wide receiver 1 for this team long term. I like him more than Calvin Ridley at this point.
Yeah, Ridley's kind of just a waste of space at this point for the as far as the roster goes. But I do appreciate the broadcast for teaching me how to say Io Manor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we made him with a little bit of an accent prior.
Io Manor?
Yep. And then I noticed here that Adams outshined Puka in the past game, but both are eating right now. So, I mean, that's very, very great to move forward with this team. And I think Stafford isn't even at a full 100% just yet. And I don't mean as far as health goes, but like as far as getting his rhythm and everything like that from his time missed.
I mean, Adams had more yards and got the touchdown, but Puka's getting more targets and more receptions. So,
and he got the run.
It's gonna fluctuate. It's gonna fluctuate for these two. Yeah, he had the big run too. So really, Puka just dominated more than Adams. So you're just wrong.
I would want shares of both. You're just wrong. I would want shares of both of them is basically what I was saying, but I'm just wrong.
Yes. And Calvin Ridley had a serviceable game. Wasn't great, but 3 for 57 is not bad. Not what you'd want, for sure.
I don't think he's doing a good job of helping his young quarterback. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense to you, but that's my feeling right now is I don't know if he's doing enough to help a quarterback that needs help.
Well, they're another team that their offensive line isn't holding up. It seems like there's 10 teams competing for the worst offensive line this year. But what do you make of Kyren Williams versus Blake Corum? Like, is there a conversation where Blake Corum takes more reps and it's a more even split, or Corum takes over?
I mean, if Corum's available in your league, which he is available in at least one of my leagues, you're gonna scoop him. Right now, he split the red zone carries. So at the very least, if anything ever happened to Kyren Williams, he would be almost a 1-to-1 replacement. So I like him, and I don't think that he's going to steal much more work from Williams. I just think that he is going to be a guy that is available handcuff, which I know you love, Alex.
I love in deep, deep dynasties having a handcuff, not in redrafts or shallow leagues. But this is a guy that 2 drafts ago, people were talking about potentially taking Kyron Williams' job. Now, Kyron just got the bag, so he just got paid this offseason. They drafted another running back this draft, so people kind of dismissed Blake Corum, but he's showing he's more explosive than he was at any point last year. So he could become a thing. He could get involved more. But you'd want to rest Matt Stafford because I don't want Matt Stafford throwing a billion times in the regular season. I want him healthy for a playoff run. So if they can get their ground game going, Blake Corum is going to get numbers.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, we have to be a little bit on Stafford watch right now. So, unfortunate as it is, he's just an aging veteran, and hopefully he can keep it together for the season. All right. Anything else on this matchup here before we head to our first difference?
Nope. Let's go on NFL head coach on the hot seat hunt here, and let's move on to the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins.
Mike Vrabel is not
I
on the
picked
hot seat.
No, Mike McDaniel is for sure. So I had New England. You took Miami. Kind of baited you into taking Miami, but New England won 33-27. Miami had a players only meeting before the game happened. Doesn't look like it worked, but they did score a decent amount at least. I don't think this is a good team. I think Tyreek Hill's days are numbered, whether he gets suspended or traded. I don't know, maybe both. Achane is apparently better as a receiving back than as an actual running back. I don't know whether it's because the offensive line can't get a push or what. Waddle had a good game. Tyreek Hill had a good game, but Waddle apparently has a shoulder injury that may or may not impede him for next week. I don't know. Ramondre Stevenson took over for Henderson, who I think Henderson had a bad block and was taken out of the game and didn't really resurface for the Patriots. Diggs has been a non-factor with the Patriots 2 weeks in so far. That's been interesting. Kayshon Boutte appears to be operating as a number 1 for them, but he only got 1 reception for a touchdown this week after being heavily peppered last week. So, what do you make of these two teams? Is Miami done? Are the Patriots going to the playoffs? What do you think is going to happen with these two teams?
So, New England's definitely not going to the playoffs, so we need to halt that bus right now. Miami showed enough improvement this week where I don't think that they're done yet. Even Tua went 26 of 32 for 315 yards. Got Tyreek back involved, as you mentioned, Chan. Great receiving back, great receiving back. But they've had a couple pieces that they were planning on counting on for this season, and they're out with injuries, and that's Jalen Wright and Darren Waller. Like, they were really counting on them to begin the season, and neither one of them were able to be healthy for opening day, which is unfortunate because I'm losing that bet to you. I think Tyreek, though, I think the big news here is Tyreek is back in at least the wide receiver 2 conversation, if not the wide receiver 1 conversation, especially with all the other struggling receivers out there. And I know that you are smiling over there over Drake May because he is starting to put it together. And this is what you want to see in year 2 is a good young quarterback that knows how to protect the football, score touchdowns, which he scored 3, 1 on the ground and 2 through the air. So what do you think of the Henderson versus Stevenson of it all? I know you mentioned that Henderson got benched, but what do you think this means going forward?
I think it's a committee approach, honestly. And Gibson is always looming in the background as well there. I don't think anyone can argue that Henderson offers the most upside in athleticism, but the dirty here is that Ramondre is going to be involved. Until Ramondre has a fumble or has a fumbling problem, he's going to be heavily involved. So I think maybe people are undervaluing him. He might be a sneaky cheap option for someone who desperately needs a running back to plug in.
Absolutely. I think one of the themes this year were with all the good, and I'm going to put in quotes, good, because they haven't proven it yet, rookie running backs coming in this year, I think we wrote off a lot of veteran running backs prematurely due to the fact of the volume of running backs that came into the league this year. And those are proving to be the value, because if you look at J.K. Dobbins, Ramondre Stevenson, I know you don't want to fully admit this yet, but Najee Harris could potentially be the starter in LA going forward. So it is the rookies are going to have to earn their jobs, and that's not a bad thing. Jaden Blue is going to have to earn his job, but yeah, I think Tua did look lost at times, even though I gave him a little bit of praise for the high completion percentage. I think that pick was pretty brutal. He may have had a fumble in there as well. I don't really remember there, but he is someone that's going to have to protect the football, make good decisions all the time. And that last drive, he made a couple of bad decisions, and that was the difference in the game. Great. Let's hop over to another East matchup, this time in the NFC, and it's the Giants at the Cowboys. We both picked the Cowboys. We both got it right, but this was the game of the week, and Russ and Dak dueled, which I know those are two of your favorite quarterbacks. What did you make of Russ and Dak this week? Got Cam Newton on the brain here.
I mean, they both put up enough points that were QB1s in fantasy. Russ fed top-heavy targets to Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson, and kind of Darius Slayton as a distant third. What I noticed for this is actually for this game is actually the running backs. To be honest with you, Cam Scadaboo seems to have taken over as the primary rusher for the Giants, with Tyrone Tracy being more of the receiving back, and Javonte Williams did it again 2 weeks in a row. So he looks like he might actually be a viable running back option as long as he's getting volume for this team. And CeeDee Lamb goes without a touchdown 2 weeks in a row, while Jake Ferguson looks like the number 2 option for the Cowboys over someone like George Pickens. I think Kevontae Turpin got hurt in this matchup too.
Yeah, so far so good with your bet there, but it ain't over till it's over, and it's just one game that Ferguson looks like he's the number 2. Although Pickens is still there and actually picking up some volume this week, so something to watch out for as the season goes on. But this was a 40-37 game.
I don't have to worry about Ferguson retiring to start a music career at any point, so
it would be
that's
epic
nice.
if he did now. Because we would just go back to this clip.
I'm sure it would be better than anything Waller has put out.
So my notes in this matchup is Russ's deep ball was very pretty, worked very well for both Neighbors and Robinson, which Wan'Dale, I didn't even know that he had it in his repertoire to get a 50-yard touchdown pass, like a bomb. I thought he was just a short yardage catch guy, but that was not the case. And I know you just talked about the backs a little bit, but I will mention that I'm surprised that Tyrone Tracy just got thrown off to the side like this, even though he did have 4 catches. So he is kind of leaning towards the pass catching back for the team, and you still got Devin Singletary.
I've never been a Tyrone Tracy guy. I never bought the hype. People got excited about him last year. He had some success last year, but Cam Scadaboo seems like he fits this offense more. He's the very physical runner. And Tyrone Tracy seems like more of a change of pace back to me.
So they could fit pretty well together. I do expect more of a 50 split this year, but we'll see where this goes this year. All right, Alex, anything else on this game here?
No, that's
all right. We have the Seahawks at the Steelers. We both picked the Steelers. We both lost this matchup. Aaron Rodgers comes back down to earth. He cost me a league this week that I had to start him in a quarterback desperate situation. But some of the positives of this is Jaylen Warren leads pass catchers. He's actually being used more frequently. Bad side of this is Caleb Johnson muffed a kickoff and gave up a touchdown to the Seahawks. And So I don't think that Johnson gets involved with the run game early this season, if at all this season. Tomlin has been a guy that has soured on players previously. And do you see Caleb Johnson getting a shot here?
Not soon. Maybe if after he builds some trust back. But no, I think he's still gonna stay third on the depth chart, and I think he's got a lot of work to do. What's interesting to me is now that Jalen Warren has gotten a chance to be the starter and is out from under Najee Harris's shadow, he looks really good, solid as a runner, great as a receiving back, pretty efficient. So I appreciate that. I am actually more interested in the fact that Seattle has a running back situation where they're going to rotate being successful. It's just going to be either hot hand or whoever lines up with a great drive. This week was Kenneth Walker. Last week was Charbonnet, but Kenneth Walker this week had 13 for 105 yards and a touchdown. Charbonnet had 15 attempts and only 10 yards, which is pitiful. So that I found interesting, and I expect them to flip flop random weeks, so it's really hard to pinpoint who to play. I would lean marginally towards Kenneth Walker as a safer option right now. Just he's more athletic. Jackson Smith and Jigba had another good week. Cooper Cup finally showing some life week 2 of this season after not doing anything last year. So that's exciting to see. And Torrey Horton had a touchdown. So after all the offseason hype, he's getting on the scoreboard. Would like to have seen more statistics from the other weapons on both of these teams, but didn't happen this week.
Oh, great. So I know you just talked about Cooper Cup a little bit. Would you start him going forward or no?
Depends on my wide receiver situation / flex situation. So if I didn't have better options, I would. But if there's, 3 wide receivers I like more than him, I'd start those guys.
That is the biggest non-answer I've ever heard. I like him.
Well, you gotta give me a scenario. Throw some names at me, and I'll tell you whether I would start him over those guys or not.
Brian Thomas Jr. or Cooper Cup right now.
I'd still start Brian Thomas Jr.
Travis Hunter or Cooper Cup.
Well, they play the Texans this week, and the Texans suck at slot and nickel corner. So I would potentially start Travis Hunter over Cooper Cup.
Oh, right. Man, I don't even know what to give people advice on Walker and Charbonnet right now because it's very confusing.
Yeah.
Very confusing. All right. Anything else here?
Nope.
All right. 49ers at Saints. We both picked the 49ers. The 49ers did win this matchup. Kamara surprisingly has a big day on the ground, which we don't say very often. So good to see from Kamara. And Rattler did throw for 3 touchdowns, which is impressive against a Niners defense led by Robert Saleh. So he has shown marginal improvement. But speaking of 3 touchdowns, Mac Jones throws 3 touchdowns as well. And I don't think there was as big of a drop off from Brock Purdy to Mac Jones as some people thought there was going to be. Kind of like the Spider-Man meme. It feels like they just are pointing at each other. Mac Jones, unfortunately, was a first-round pick and given up on relatively quickly, and Purdy was a 7th round pick and had some time to come into his own, and I feel like that was their difference in the league so far. But perfect backup to Purdy because you don't have to change the offense one little bit. You get to run it pretty much exactly the same. I would love to see him with Kittle and Ayuk out there and see what that looks like, but I don't think we're going to get to that point unless Purdy misses more time. I did want to mention that Purdy's going to miss multiple weeks. And I think this is the 3rd time in his career that he's missed multiple weeks with an injury. Is durability a concern for Brock Purdy?
I mean, durability seems to be a concern for a lot of quarterbacks right now, but Mac Jones seems to be the perfect backup. They overlap in a lot of skill sets, as you pointed out. He is someone that Shanahan wanted over Trey Lance, so I don't know why they drafted Trey Lance and not Mac Jones to begin with. I don't think there's a competition here because they already paid Purdy. but
Yeah, you
Mac
can't.
Jones is rehabbing his value. I think we're bearing the lead here. Spencer Rattler looked like a competent quarterback in the NFL this week. And 25 for 34, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was very efficient. And that allowed Kamara to have a run game or vice versa. Maybe Kamara having a good run game allowed Spencer Rattler to be good. But Rattler looking like someone who can actually start in the NFL.
Does he hold off Shuck, though, this year?
Well, he was a former Lincoln Riley quarterback in college, and those guys have moderately decent success. You look at Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, even Caleb Williams had some limited success last year as well. But he's in that category with those guys, even though he was drafted later than all of them.
Right. Any other takeaways from this matchup for you here?
Not really.
Yeah, pretty forgettable day for all pass catchers except for Jennings, who scored a touchdown. Good to see that he played off on the injury designation. All right. The Panthers at the Cardinals. I don't really want to talk about this matchup, but Alex, we both picked the Cardinals. The Cardinals did win this matchup. This was a tale of two halves for Kyler Murray. First half, he looked really good, really dialed in, threw 2 touchdown passes. He might have thrown a third one to Trey Benson. I think that was actually a pass, not a rush. But in the he only threw for one actually to Trey Benson, or no, to Michael Wilson. He threw multiples. I guess that was incorrect.
Just the one. Yeah.
But the Panthers came roaring back. Bryce Young threw 55 times. Don't love that at all for this team. I would love to have him throw closer to 25 times like Kyler Murray did. It does look like James Conner is slowly gaining the lead job back, although he went 11 for 34. So this wasn't like a world beater day for James Conner, but he did score the touchdown, which is the king in fantasy here. A couple of questions for you. The first is it time to buy Marvin Harrison Jr. on a buy low?
No, not in redrafts.
So little to no value this year is what I'm hearing.
As long as Kyler Murray's the quarterback, he's not worth owning.
Right. And let's take a look here at my other question, and that is it time to move on from Bryce Young in Carolina?
To be fair, he did have 3 touchdowns and 328 yards in this matchup. So, not sure yet whether he should be moved on from at this point. His entire offensive line got decimated. They had at least 2 injuries at the offensive line this week where they were put on IR, I believe. Xavier Legette has not been good. Tet McMillan has been very good. Should probably be thrown to more, but Hunter Renfrow getting 2 touchdowns, being the new safety blanket, replacing Thielen, and Jadavian Sanders being pretty solid. So you got to give him the rest of the year, find out what Bryce Young is. It's only his 3rd season in the NFL, so give him a little bit more and then see.
I will give him a little bit more time, but as we are figuring out here, it may be time for Canales to get his own quarterback. All right, let's hop over to the last few games here. The first one here, being the Broncos at the Colts. I had picked the Broncos, you had picked the Colts. Colts did win on the last play of the game, so that gives you another victory in the victory column. Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, with back-to-back great weeks, this time against one of the league's better defenses. So this seems kind of legit. What do you make of Daniel Jones? And also, what do you make of the 2025 version of Bo Nix?
Well, the Broncos kept trying to blitz Indianapolis, and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen did really good at doing quick throws to get out of it, which other quarterbacks in the league have not been doing. That worked out really well for them, as well as Jonathan Taylor looked like a boss in this matchup and looks like he's his past self. Tyler Warren looks very vital to this team, so it makes people wonder why a team like the Bears aren't using Loveland or some of these other high-profile tight ends aren't getting used more, because Colts can do it with Warren pretty easily.
Yeah, I think Loveland though. Before you move on, I think that's more of a case of too many pass catchers in the kitchen.
Maybe, but the Colts also have Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Adonai Mitchell, and those guys are not, none of those guys are getting the usage that you want for a consistent fantasy performance. Like, it's hard to start any of those guys. But as far as Denver goes, I mean, I think Bo Nix is doing fine as is. They were on the road in Indianapolis. Indianapolis defense is better than what people think it is. So this ended up being more competitive. J.K. Dobbins is the clear leader in the clubhouse at the running back position for the Broncos. A lot of people want to make a big deal about Troy Franklin. He had the best game for the Broncos receivers, but I fully expect it to be almost random on a weekly basis, except for the fact that I think Sutton will be involved more in other games. He was keyed on in this one, so he did not show up.
Yeah, that was disappointing, and I think if Troy Franklin is a free agent in your league, it's worth throwing a waiver claim in on him and just taking a stab at a bench shot for him right now. I can't believe Dobbins is found another home to be the lead back and the unquestioned lead back.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Absolutely. All right. The Eagles at the Chiefs is our next game here. And Alex, we both picked the Eagles. The Eagles did win this matchup. Mahomes does his best with a depleted team to win this game here, but he does fall short. And Kelsey was the reason why they lost this game, in my opinion, because he did drop the game-winning touchdown, and it did turn it into a game-altering INT. And A.J. Brown, more involved, but only 5 for 27. So, Alex, what was your takeaway on this matchup?
I don't know. I think Travis Kelce felt like he was the only one catching the ball. So, yeah, he had a drop, but everyone else was struggling for the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco, we got to put a APB out for him because he's doing nothing 2 weeks in. I think someone's tracked him ever since he came back from an injury last season, and his numbers are abysmal. Patrick Mahomes didn't do much to the air. He did most of his work through the ground. He's doing his best Justin Fields impression. So, yes, he has a record 2 years ago or more of actually being a good passing quarterback, but this year and last year, I have yet to see it. And A.J. Brown only has 27 yards, but he has 5 catches on 8 targets in this game. So it's coming. You just got to be patient, and he'll eventually break out and get some yak here.
I don't really have patience when it comes to this, but this will really be testing me. All right.
Do you think Isaiah Pacheco's done? Do you think it's time to move on from him?
I mean, in his current incarnation, yes. However, I can't unsee how good he looked in the preseason and camp and stuff. And it's not the same. It's not translating over to games right now. And I don't know why. Some of it, though, is the lack of run that he's getting. And I don't really understand the run game of the Chiefs right now. I think I voiced it last week. Mahomes led the team with carries or with yards this week. Pacheco only had 10 carries. Hunt had 8 for 9 more yards. So Hunt was more efficient, but I don't know. I don't even know what the right answer is because I don't think it's on the team. I think that's part of my problem here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kareem Hunt looked better. When someone, running back that's almost 30 or maybe is 30, looks better than your younger running back who was doing good before he got hurt, I mean, that's a big problem.
Absolutely. All right, we're on to our prime time games, and the first one is the Falcons at the Vikings. And Alex, I picked the Falcons, they won. You picked the Vikings, they lost. So that was finally one that I could get back. JJ McCarthy has been bad in 7 out of 8 quarters, or at least not good. We'll go at least not good. Now he's injured with a high ankle sprain. Wentz is the likely starter for the next 3 games, so that's big news coming out of this game. Aaron Jones also headed to IR, and that means Cam Akers is back. One of your buddies here. You love a little Cam Akers, but if we flip it around here, Penix doesn't look much better in this matchup. And Alex, where do the Vikings go with McCarthy first before we hop over to the Falcons side of the ball here?
I think he played through a high ankle sprain in this game, which is why he struggled a bit.
I thought it happened late.
But I mean, it's obviously not the game that you wanted for him, but it wasn't the game you wanted from Penix either. It's just Bijan Robinson or Bijan
He wants
Robinson.
Bijan again, so we wanted to talk about how it's Bijan again. He likes being called Bijan.
Snip snap, snip snap. I mean,
I think legally it's Bijan, but he likes to be called Bijan because I just think it sounds cooler.
it's like Denzel Washington. It's actually Denzel.
Yep,
But went by
did see a clip of that this week.
Denzel. Yeah, he went by Denzel because his dad's name was also Denzel.
Now you have a whole generation that has named their kids Denzel, spelled the same way.
But anyway, I wanted Drake London and Darnell Mooney to have bigger weeks this week, but didn't happen. But it's nice to see that Bijan Robinson can get the usage that he got in this game because that didn't happen with Art Smith as the head coach.
Yeah, and I think that brings me to my last question in this matchup here. Algiers just not going away. He's going to be factored into this offense somehow every week, regardless of Bijan Robinson being there. And is he a flex start every week now going forward?
Yeah, I think he's in that conversation now, especially if the game script is going to be relatively close or you think the Falcons win. I think he's definitely going to be involved there. If it's a negative game script, though, I think Bijan is more involved as the better pass catching back and more explosive back.
Yeah.
But it's kind of Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery situation.
Yeah, he had 17 touches for 80 yards and 1 touchdown. So he's the supplement to the lack of wide receivers that they have. Although they do have Mooney back, but Mooney in London is about it. All right, we had 2 Monday night games here, back-to-back double headers. And the first one, Alex, you're probably not going to want to talk too much about. The Buccaneers at the Texans. The Buccaneers did win on the last second. And I don't think the Texans looked good until late. They really did lead a comeback, and that was pretty impressive. They showed that moxie. But they do start 0-2 this year, and losing one at home in primetime is not a good thing. I do believe that the Buccaneers left them in this game for a bit. Baker and the team really stopped connecting, and I think that all happened right around where Ibuka got hurt, and he was held catchless after that. Anything else I missed on this game, Al?
I could talk about this game for 3 hours, honestly, but Texans got the early lead. Nice drive at the beginning of the game to get a touchdown to Nico Collins. And you start to think, all right, maybe they figure some stuff out. Then Baker Mayfield responds. 7-7 game. Ka'imi Fairbairn ended the first quarter, basically, with 10-7. Texans, second quarter. Baker to Ibuka, ended the second quarter. No one did anything in the third quarter, and then Texans got the lead in the fourth quarter, and Nick Chubb, that touchdown, it looks like they let him through and gave the Bucks like 2.5 minutes basically to score with all their timeouts. So I mean, for me, if I'm a Texans fan, and I am, Nick Chubb should have knelt. They should have ran the ball, made the Bucks use their timeouts, take some of the clock, and then either gone for the touchdown then or kicked a field goal and gone up one and made it a lot more difficult for the Buccaneers. A lot of time management stuff at the end of this game where D'Amico should have called a timeout. So Texans had a chance to respond, but a lot of confusing things for the offense in this one for the Texans. Why wasn't Jalen Noel used? He obviously looked really good on the punt return that got them back in the game. Texans had a block punt that got them back in the game. Their defense did almost everything they could to keep the Texans in this game. Why wasn't Higgins used more? Why was Justin Watson used? Why was Dario Abungawale even involved? He got obliterated on his pass blocking. He didn't look good as a rusher, whereas Woody Marks was involved in the first quarter and second quarter and looked great as a receiving back. Nick Chubb had some success in this game. Why was Dario Bongawale in? I don't know. Why weren't the second and third round draft picks involved more? I don't know. Why wasn't Nico Collins involved more? I don't know. And even when things were going right on those regards in the offensive line, Stroud looked shocked. And he looked like he was seeing ghosts. He was rushed. He without an actual pass rusher in his face, and he held onto the ball, ran backwards. Yeah, it was a mess. And it looks like first-time play caller Nick Caley has not figured it out yet, and the team doesn't look prepared. And why the Buccaneers, who are on their third offensive coordinator in 3 years and had multiple offensive line injuries, looked the same level as the Texans' essentially starting lineup because only one person was missing, the center Andrews. That blows my mind. Blows my mind. I think they had 3 tackle injuries. They moved their center to tackle to cover that and put a backup center in, and they looked just as good as the Texans' offensive line with a completely different offensive coordinator. I'm sick of it. Like, that's dumb. This should never happen.
And that does it for this episode of the Houston Texans podcast, because we were talking about offensive linemen on a fantasy football podcast. But yeah, I concur. Stroud looks like he's regressed a bit. They look underprepared, and I think Chubb was just so excited to hit the end zone for the first time this year. I don't think you could have got him to kneel down, no matter what you would have told him.
Wow.
Plus, that offense hasn't scored many touchdowns this year yet. I think that's only the second one.
Didn't. I mean, hey, the positives are they scored 0 touchdowns on offense week 1, and they scored 2 this week.
I know.
So next week against the Jaguars. Next week is 4 against the Jaguars.
All right. I'm holding you to it. I'm holding you
It's a short
to
pattern, but
8 the following week. 8 the following week.
yeah,
16 after that.
I do think Mike Evans for the Buccaneers is due a touchdown soon. He got close to getting this one, and he got close to another big play, and I think that got called back on a hold. But I want to keep an eye on Egbuka to make sure he's not banged up. But he's having himself a great start to his rookie year, being able to put a touchdown on the Texans and almost have a really, really big game against the Texans secondary. It's a really good sign for Egbuka. And Buccaneers should be getting healthy soon, and they'll only get better. And I think they look like potentially a top 3 team in the NFC by the time playoffs come around.
Let's hope. And as of right now, Mike Evans is on pace for 909 yards, and you know that pace needs to tick up a little bit. All right, last matchup here is the Chargers at the Raiders. Alex, we both picked the Chargers. The Chargers won. My takeaways from this matchup was Quentin Johnston does score again, and I do believe Herbert has a platter of options. He puts the defense to sleep with short options and then hits QJ with a long ball. But I think there's a lot of people that you could start on the Chargers right now. So I think Hampton could be benched. So that's something that I want to, or at least remove from the starting role, not completely benched. That's something to monitor. There was a fumble in that game. I think they actually credited it to Justin Herbert, but it was definitely a Hampton error. But the Raiders side of the ball, I don't know if I would start anybody right now. Maybe Genty still, but Genty was a first round redraft pick, and he's right now running back 27. And it's all fed off of Geno Smith having a rough start to the season as well. Alex, what are your takeaways?
My takeaways are that Quentin Johnston may not be a good wide receiver, but it only takes one play for him to be relevant for fantasy football, and it seems to happen a lot. So it's a nice wide receiver 3 to have that puts up big numbers for you right now. Anyway, we'll see if that changes as the season goes on. But I don't want to start either Najee or Amari and Hampton right now unless they have a really juicy matchup against a soft defense. I don't know if you noticed, but with the benching, they both had exactly 8 rushes, and it was almost identical yardage. And despite Najee having the advantage with the average per carry, Amari and Hampton had the more explosive solo run than Najee did. Keenan Allen always going to be involved. I don't know why Lad McConkey didn't get more catches later on in the game because the first couple drives seemed like he was the only one getting catches. Trey Harris got involved towards the end of the game, and Lambert got benched after a bad play. So
Offsides.
maybe
Offense.
yep. So we've talked about this offline, and the Chargers' skill positions seem like they're as close to optimal as you can realistically get for a Greg Roman offense. So I think we should expect Justin Herbert to be maximized this year. I do think at some point the ground game gets more effective, but it hasn't happened 2 weeks in. And although I don't trust Quentin Johnson on a week-to-week basis, if you're treating him as your flex or your wide receiver 3, he's got tremendous upside because he only needs one catch to be useful. Keenan Allen, solid wide receiver 3 to use, getting a lot of catches, putting up bigger numbers. Lad McConkey, I still like, but it's been rather lackluster his first 2 weeks. On the Raiders side, I would still start Genty every week because he's eventually going to break off big plays. Jacoby Myers got 12 targets in this, caught 6 of them. I would still use him. Bowers played hurt. You still got to throw him out there. But Geno Smith ruined this game for the rest of the Raiders. He had really reckless throws, double covered, obvious sideline throws that got picked off. He might have even had more than just the 3 he was credited, but he got fortunate with those. So I really think a lot of guys would have better numbers. Even Genty would have some good receiving numbers if Michael Mayer didn't miss a blatant block. I don't know how he let his man off of him. So there's just miskeys, miscommunications, and the defense played very well against a very tough Chargers offense.
All right. I think that wraps up our entire week 2 here. Next week, I will do a little update on our projections and kind of what playoff teams look like based on our last projections and the current results. And we'll insert that here going forward. But Alex, let's get everyone ready here for week 3. The first one's an exciting matchup for me, and it's the Dolphins at the Bills. Who are you taking in this matchup?
I am taking the Bills.
Give me the Bills as
Pretty
well.
easy decision.
All right. This should be an easy decision as well. The Falcons at the Panthers, Alex. I know at one point you had the Falcons with 5 wins-ish, somewhere in there. And they did beat the Vikings last week. In Carolina, I am going to go the Falcons in this matchup.
Yeah. I am also going the Falcons in this matchup until Carolina can prove a little bit more.
All right, we got the Bengals at the Vikings. This is the backup quarterback bowl between Jake Browning and Carson Wentz. We did not expect this matchup 2 weeks ago. We thought we were going to get JJ McCarthy and Joe Burrow here, but the universe had a different thought for us here. And Alex, who are you taking in this matchup?
It's so tough. They're very similar. You got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Right now, the next guy, Hawkinson versus Higgins, Mason, Chase Brown. I think the difference is probably Minnesota's defense is a little bit better, and it's at home. So I'm going Minnesota for those reasons. I do think Carson Wentz likes to target tight ends historically. So hopefully it's a bounce back week for Hawkinson. Otherwise, you got to start worrying. We'll see.
I started worrying in the offseason when I traded him to you. I was worried then. But you're like, nah, JJ will go to him every time.
Well, it was a big swap. Literally jostling positions in the first round, and he was an add-on. So really not that big of a deal.
Absolutely. But you weren't worried at all. And I was like, A lot could go wrong with JJ. A lot has.
That's true.
Give me the Vikings in this one as well. You know I love me some Carson Wentz. All right.
All right.
Packers at the Browns is our next matchup here. This one's easy peasy. Give me the Packers in this matchup. This is probably pretty close to a lockup, which I should have mentioned. The Bills are going to be my lock it up of the week.
Yeah, I'm going Packers.
This shouldn't even be close.
Yeah. I bet we'll differ on this next one, though. The Texans at the Jaguars. I'm going Texans on this one. The Jaguars lost to an ailing Bengals team where the backup quarterback came and threw 3 interceptions. So I think the Texans defense is better than what the Bengals have. The Texans are desperate for a win because if they don't get a win, I don't think that they are guaranteed to make the playoffs at this point. They absolutely need the win.
Yeah, I mean, this is a matchup here, and I know you're trying to bait me into picking the Jaguars here, but this is a must-win for both teams because both teams are 0-2. I do think D'Amico is playing for his job a little bit more. I do like the run game of the Jaguars better than I like the Texans' run game right now. Pass catchers, I would lean towards Nico Collins in team just because they're healthier, and Kirk might be back this week. Same thing with Braxton, superstar Berrios. Man, this is a 50-50 matchup. This is going to be one of the games to watch this week. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to come down to one score, and give me the leg of Cam Little, and I'll go the Jaguars. Take the bait.
After giving me crap for Cam Little, like you're coming around to him now?
He's my Madden kicker now. I just got the new Madden and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not buying Madden anymore. It's not happening.
Oh, great. So, next matchup here is the Colts at the Titans, and I'm going to go Indiana Jones getting his 3rd victory here.
I really love that nickname. And I'm also going Colts here. Although this may be a surprise matchup. It's actually the point spread right now, according to BetMGM, is only 3.5. So it might be an upset for the Colts at this point.
In favor of the Colts?
Well, I think there's a good chance the Titans could win this, but I'm still taking the Colts as more likely.
Yeah, my question was BetMGM, was that
It's in
favor of the Colts? Okay. So if it was in Indianapolis, it would be a 6.5 points spread because home field advantage is
or at least
3 points.
Or at least 6. Right now, it's a -1 in favor of Jacksonville at home. So that tells you
it'd be a 5.
It's really most people think the Texans
would be 5 points. Hey, not everybody is always right. We saw the Texans have the most money on them yesterday before the game.
I saw more people betting on Tampa. So that's interesting.
Absolutely. Next matchup here is the Rams at the Eagles. Alex, who are you taking in this matchup?
I'm taking the Eagles.
I'm going to take the Rams.
They're a better team.
Rams have the much better offense right now.
No, Rams have better offense numbers, and you like that. But talent-wise, I think it's pretty clear that the Eagles have better roster talent on the offense than the Rams do.
Production matters, though, because without producing, you're not that good.
Yeah, but the Eagles, it's not that they can't do it. They just aren't throwing the ball because they don't need to.
And how long will that last before A.J. Brown starts chirping again?
He's not. So I don't know.
Okay, but he has read books on the sideline and he has chirped in the past 2 seasons. So,
but I will say A.J. Brown and Smith are both comparable. I mean, to Puka and Adams. I know you're much higher on Adams than I am, but then Goddard is better than whatever tight end they're rolling out in
Tyler
LA.
Higbee. Don't besmirch Tyler Higbee.
He's not very good, in my opinion. The Eagles' offensive line is better. Eagles' running back is better. And then you can make the case that a younger Jalen Hurts, who is mobile, is better at this stage than 57-year-old Matt Stafford or whatever he is.
I'll take Matt Stafford's arm any day of the week over Jalen Hurts any day of the week.
As long as he gets to do his decompression chamber before the game.
Absolutely. All right, we got a second difference. So here is the next matchup. It's the Raiders at the Commanders. And we do anticipate Marcus Mariota starting this game for the Commanders. And I don't know if you noticed last week, but Tom Brady was calling the Commanders game. And so he has a lot of inside knowledge that he probably shouldn't have going into this game. Although the NFL has deemed it legal, but give me the Raiders in this matchup. I think they can pull off the upset.
I'm also going the Raiders in this one. I'm kind of surprised that you, with all your Raiders hate, that you're going the Raiders this one.
But Pete Carroll has to get a win soon. I mean, this is
Yeah.
we're in dire
Well, they got
territory.
They got to win week 1.
Oh yeah, they beat the Patriots in New England. So, but they need another. I mean, maybe they'll be road warriors this year.
They very well could be. And I think without Jaden Daniels, Washington's very beatable. And the Raiders defense is pretty solid. They need Geno to just settle down. Just settle down and get the run game going. So
I think though, if Daniels even plays, I think he'll be immobile, and that will ruin some of the game plan and game script for the Commanders. And I still would go with the Raiders, even if Daniels played from the pocket.
yeah, we're in agreement here. So
All
let
right.
us move on to the Jets at Buccaneers, which Jets are missing Fields potentially in this matchup with the concussion, and that's something to monitor. But you're a lesser fan of Tyrod Taylor, and he is the primary backup here. So who are you going in this matchup, Jeff?
I will say it's very weird by Aaron Glenn to say that Fields probably won't start without practicing this week. I don't know if I've ever heard a starting NFL quarterback not being able to start because they haven't practiced all week, even if they're cleared at the end of the week. Interesting comments on Aaron Glenn. Is he already souring on Justin Fields? That's a question that we have to figure out later.
I mean, it's a pretty self-evident statement that if a player with a concussion doesn't practice, he's not going to play. So that's a non-answer, in my opinion.
But if he got cleared on Saturday and missed all practice, why couldn't he go Sunday?
Head injuries are different than any other injury, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And it's not one I would take lightly. So I would take the risk of missing one game, but being okay for the next game going forward.
Absolutely. But another stinker like that, and I don't think Fields would be long for the league, and the Buccaneers, even with the defensive injuries, should be relatively good. Alex, who did you pick in this one?
I'm picking the Buccaneers. I don't think you can pick the Jets until they fix their issues. Their defense is terrible, and their defense is supposed to be good.
I don't think there's a way that Tyrod, Justin Fields, I don't think there's a way Justin Fields on the field at the same time could beat the. If they had a 12th guy on the field, could beat the Buccaneers.
I just think Baker's a much higher caliber quarterback, and they have 2 good wide receivers. I think one of the problems with the Jets is they have only Garrett Wilson. The next best wide receiver is Alan Lazard, which is a huge drop off. Whereas Tampa Bay has Evans, Egbuka, Godwin's coming back soon. They have McMillan. Those are 4 better receivers than the second best of the Jets.
No, I can agree with that. And we're in agreement with the Buccaneers as well. But Fields does only thrive with one wide receiver, so they're set up just perfect for Justin Fields. All right, speaking of Justin Fields, he played for the Steelers last year, and the next matchup is the Steelers at the Patriots. And the Patriots looked good last week, but they did play the Dolphins, and the Steelers played the Seahawks, who might have a sneaky good defense. I'm going to take the Steelers in this matchup here. This might be an upset.
I am going the Patriots. This one, I don't believe in 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Steelers are pretty limited. I like Drake May a lot more. It's at home with the Patriots, so give me the Patriots.
Another difference. We got the Broncos at the Chargers in our next matchup. Alex, this might be a difference here. Who are you taking in this matchup?
Well, I'm not sure about the Broncos on the road. So I'm going to take the Chargers. I think they are the better offensive team, and I think this might be a game where the Chargers running game gets going on the ground finally.
It could, and I think Najee is going to be the lead back in this game. So you heard it here first. I think Najee will get his shot here.
I think it's going to be an annoyingly frustrating even split. That's what I think.
I will say that I know that we mentioned Jaden Daniels in his sophomore slump. I think Bo Nix is in a slight sophomore slump as well. Gotta dig it out.
I just don't think his weapons are good enough, especially at wide receiver.
It's got Troy Franklin, the legend, now.
His college teammate, for sure, and looks a lot better than his rookie year, but I think he's a situational deep threat. I think Mims is a situational deep threat. I think Sutton is probably better as a wide receiver too for the team. They have no real number one. This is my view on them. I mean, you can have a different one.
Oh, right. I do have a slight different one, but we will find out towards the end of the season because he has roughly the same pass catching core plus Pat Bryant this year and Evan Ingram. We will judge at the end of the year after year 1 to year 2. And the next matchup here, Alex, is the Saints at the Seahawks. I don't like the Saints at all this year. The Seahawks should perform better at home this week. And give me the Seahawks.
I'm also going the Seahawks as well, but it is at 7.5. So, I mean, those of you who like to play against the spread, I think there's a good chance Saints play closer than that. But
backdoor cover.
Straight up pick 'em. I'm going Seahawks.
Little backdoor cover. All right. We have the Cardinals at the 49ers next. Alex, who are you taking in this matchup?
I am taking the 49ers. It's at home in San Francisco. I think Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray. So they at least have a couple of their options healthy enough to play. So give me the 49ers. Cardinals are posers.
I trust the 49ers in this matchup as well. And we have 3 matchups left. The first is the Cowboys at the Bears. This matchup is dire for the Bears to win. The Cowboys are coming off of a great win. So something's got to give in this matchup here because I know the Cowboys offense is potent and I don't believe the Bears is potent. So give me the Cowboys in this matchup.
I think this truly is the biggest coin flip this week and has the potential to determine what these teams are. I really want to go the Bears, but I'm also going Cowboys in this case because I feel like Dak is due actually good statistical game and not just test good. But I think this will be a slugfest. I think hopefully is a high scoring game and gets you fantasy points, but ultimately Dallas wins.
What would you say the final score of this one will be?
I would hope at least 27-24, maybe more.
All right. So that brings us to the Chiefs at the Giants, which is going to be Sunday Night Football. This might be a go to bed early game, but maybe not. Maybe not. Russell Wilson is familiar with the Chiefs after playing with the Broncos for 2 seasons there. Alex, who are you taking in that matchup?
Well, this should have been an obvious before the season started no-go at the late night matchup. Honestly, Cowboys Bears would have been a better primetime game, but this might be a week where Pacheco bounces back because the Giants haven't been that great against the run. I'm going the Chiefs to get their first one of the season. It'd be funny if the Giants won, but I'm going Chiefs in this one.
I am going to go the Chiefs in this one because I think the Chiefs will get their first win. I can't see Patrick Mahomes losing 3 games in a row to start a season. Not even a little bit. All right, last matchup, Monday Night Football. This is one of your favorite teams, maybe 2 of your favorite teams, the Lions at the Ravens. And Alex, this is going to be a very close matchup. But Ravens at home, I'm going to take the Ravens in this matchup.
I'm taking the Ravens as well, but I am hoping for a high-scoring matchup for fantasy. We'll see, though. We'll see. I'm going Ravens as well.
Right. We're in good shape.
My my points total for that Monday night game is 70.
Could be. That is a game that I might just bet all the overs and watch them all smash. Very fun
You
for
gonna
me.
bet? You gonna bet Derrick Henry gets a fumble for the third game in a row?
I don't know. I don't believe that'll happen though. I believe he completely
It's really
rebounds this
odd
week.
and uncharacteristic of him to already have 2 fumbles at this point.
Concentration issue.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this episode. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. And with our handle N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms, please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.